Hey guys, Matt here, coming back with another video. It has been a while. I have just been really busy with other things that I don't know if I want to get into too much, but basically I'm developing a game and I started a few other new hobbies, and I'll just leave it at that for now. But really what I want to talk about here is the Phyrexia All Will Be One pre-release, because I played in two of them. I played in one at my local game store and I played in a qualifier up in Columbus, Ohio. I was going to play in a second qualifier, but it sold out, so couldn't get in that one. But yeah, I just want to talk about my experience with the set and playing sealed. Got a couple pre-release kits, and yeah, I guess I'll just talk about some cards here. But I'll give you a quick overall or what to expect. Overall, it was a pretty good experience. This is a cool set. Introduces some new mechanics with Toxic that make play styles really interesting. And there's a lot of little interesting trinkets, some pretty powerful creatures, even at like common level, that kind of surprised me. I, I will say I didn't really do a good study of the set before jumping into these sealed events, which, totally should have done. Probably would have performed a little bit better. But overall, I love sealed and I can generally feel my way through it. But yeah, I guess I'll talk about that a little. So I guess the big thing was, well, there's a couple colors that are just really obviously strong. Let me just switch to the cards and I'll talk about the cards a little bit here. All right. So I just got this new overhead light and it is massively bright. So I don't know how it's going to perform. It's kind of a test. Let's see here. I have two different decks. I have one from the game store and I have one from the qualifier. And I just kind of want to talk through my decision and what I picked a little bit, I guess, and talk about some of the cards that came up. Mono white, well, just white in general, very strong with stuff like Skrell, Defector, Might, if you can pull him. I did pull him. The game store, I went 3-1. The only guy that beat me, he was a good player, but he beat me due to sheer luck. Like I had the cards to beat him, and he just had the perfect answers. So I'm pretty happy overall with my performance at the game store. Being that my only loss was I didn't really make any mistakes in the game. I would say it was just kind of a fluke of, hey, my opponent had it. Sometimes that's the way it goes. Anyway, Skrelv obviously very strong. Getting through with that poison's good. So white has a lot of one drop toxic one creatures, and so does black. So if you can get a lot of those, and you can get the toxic thing online where your opponent has at least three toxics. That seems to be pretty strong, and that's kind of what I went for in this deck overall. I also found a Conduit of Worlds in my starter packs. Conduit of Worlds, I don't know if it's super good. I mean, it's okay in sealed because if the game goes late, it's great card advantage. I'm sorry you can't see it here, but basically, it's like Crucible Worlds. You can play lands from your graveyard, except it's 4 CMC, and you can tap this to play something from your yard, but that's the only spell you can play if you do that. So I picked up that. I got all the rares up front. And Mycosynth Gardens. This is a pretty cool card that can copy non-token artifacts. I don't know what my camera's doing, but I apologize. So maybe you'll have to look these up. But Mycosynth Garden is a cool card. It's one of the kind of highly spec'd cards. I got it in here just basically for color fixing and potential of copying things. A little more color fixing. Obviously, I'm playing green white, but I also went red. So this is like a 3-color deck. And I also pulled a Rot Priest. Our game store let us play these promos. The pre-release they did not, and we get a little green screen. I guess I need to fix that real quick. Okay. No need for the green screen effect. Chroma key while I'm on this. So Rot Priest is cool. This was a nice bomb I pulled. White Sun's Twilight. This is, yeah, if you play this for 5, you basically just win because you destroy all their creatures and you get 5 mites. Well, anyway, the one match that I did lose, I even played this against the guy and he had the perfect answer to save his creature and swing for the win. It was crazy. So I know that doesn't mean a whole lot without you seeing the games or understanding, but I'll get to a little more that'll make a little more sense here. White Sun's Twilight, obviously a bomb. This deck was pretty good. Did I make a mistake by splashing other colors? I could have just went pretty strong green-white from what you've seen so far. And also Infectious Bite, pretty good. Very solid instant removal card that makes 2 things fight and gives your opponents a poison counter. So that performed pretty well. Duelist of Deep Faith is a very, very strong 2-drop if you're going for Toxic. So it performs very well, especially with combat tricks since it's got first strike. So great common to pick up. Here's this is an extremely strong card, especially when you got 1-drop things that give people poison, because once they get poisoned, it exiles anything, and it's instant speed. So another great common to pick up in this set is the Anoint. And there's a lot of things that when they die, they make a might. This does an exile effect, so it kind of gets around that. Once again, I apologize for this blurriness. If you guys keep subscribing and keep liking, I will get a new camera. It's only a matter of time. I know. I tried getting a better light as a cheap fix, and it seems to be okay, but maybe it's a bit much. Hex Gold, Hover Wings. This card, I think, is a little better than it seems on first impression. It seems like a really overpriced equipment at first. It's a 4-drop. Enchanted or equipped creature gets +1/+0 and flying. Oh no, just flying. And creatures you control that are equipped get +1/+0. So this can potentially buff a lot of your board if you've got a lot of equipment going. But just getting that 3/2 flyer and then an equipment you can put on something else later to give it flying is very good and sealed, even though it is expensive. Shieldred's Head Cleaver. I like this guy because, well, I put him in here because he's toxic too and he's menace. So he's got a little evasion, but not the strongest creature. Kind of easily outclassed in this 4-mana drop. But 2/4 menace, toxic too. That's why he's in here. After playing in these few tournaments, I would probably play something else over this guy. He's okay, but he's not super great. This card is awesome if you can get these. Billis Skull Dweller. It has Death Touch. It's a Death Touch 1/1 for 1, and it also has Toxic 1, so they don't want to block it. Great way to get Toxic on your opponent and just have a great ground chump blocker later in the game with Death Touch. So amazing. Cruel Grimnarch. I actually like this card. It's a 5/5 for 6 mana with death when it has Death Touch. When it ETBs, your opponents must discard a card. So late game and sealed, usually people are holding on to 1 or 2 cards and it's like a bomb. So just dropping this on curve, turn 6, often has an opponent discard a really good card. That's why I like this guy, but being a 6-drop, kind of rough. 5/5 Death Touch is nice though. Dune Mover, this is a sleeper. You pick up as many of these as you can. This thing's amazing. It has everything you want. It's a 2/1 for 2 artifact creature, played in any color. It has Toxic 1, so it goes great with your toxic stuff. And ETB, you can search your library for a basic land, put it on top, which is amazing for fixing, amazing for getting your next land drop that you really need. And if it's late in the game, you can just say, nope, it's an optional thing. You don't have to go grab a land. So this is definitely an amazing turn 2 play, especially when you got big boys in your deck. And if you have multiple colors, it's even better because you can go find that one color you're missing. So me here playing 3 colors, as you haven't even seen the red cards yet, but you've seen black and green. So green was kind of a splash, really. This was mainly black, white, and the red was a splash. But I just had this Rot Priest that seemed so good for the green, and this Bite that seemed so good. This Conduit, I didn't even play main deck, but it's kind of here because it's one of the rares, so that came in sideboard a lot. But Dune Mover was great for this 4-color. Would I recommend 4 colors? Heck no. You're probably not going to win with 4 colors. But you'll see why I did it. I did it because I had this guy. I did it because I had these 2 lands. I had some amazing little splashables. But we'll get to that a little more here shortly as we see more cards. Apostle of Invasion. I'm on the fence about this card. It's obviously a very strong late game card, late game body, being a 4/4 potentially double strike. It's pretty much always going to be double strike in this deck, so it's 4/4 flying double strike for 6. So it seemed pretty good. I didn't really, in any of my games, it did come into play really. Just didn't seem to be relevant. They were usually dead by that turn anyway. This card is really good. Blight Belly Rat. Toxic 1, 2/2 for 2, perfect. And then when it dies, you also get the Proliferate. Sign me up. A great, very strong sealed card in this set. Here's why I splashed red. Literally the only reason I splashed red was for 2 Volt Charges. Volt Charge is amazing. 3 damage, instant, 3 damage to any target, and you proliferate. So this is a great way to proliferate those poison counters while also being removal and also instant speed. And it was pretty easy for me to fix it with some of these fixins I had. So I didn't really ever get mana screwed, which was kind of cool. So 2 of those. That was the whole reason I splashed red. Well, I did have this Copperline Gorge that kind of went in for a forest too, and same with, I don't know. You get the point. I evened it out. I don't have the basic lands in here anymore. All right, Vivisection Evangelist. This card is an absolute sleeper if you're going for the poison mechanic. And it's a 4/4 for 5 mana, in black white, Vivisection Evangelist. The weirdest art you'll ever see. And it's 4/4 vigilance. When it ETBs, if your opponent has 3 or more poison counters, you can do to destroy a creature or planeswalker. So it just, in this deck, it was basically always an ETB, kill your something, kill your best thing, and I get a 4/4. Very, very strong in this format. Kind of like a bigger batter or ravenous chupacabra in this deck, so that's awesome. Hunter Maze, just one of those little common sack lands. They're really good in this format for when you're flooding out, which is bound to happen in a lot of these sealed games. Whispers of the Dross, this card is kind of a sleeper too. It doesn't seem that good, just -1/-1 on something and proliferate. For 1 mana instant though, it's very easy though to combat trick people with this. And if you can pull it off with this duelist and kill something with the first strike based on the slight negative and then proliferate on top of that, it can often just be a huge blowout for such a small spell. And if nothing else, you at least got that proliferate on it to finish out their poison counters, which did happen a few times in a few games. So I think this card is a little better than it seems. You probably don't want too many of them. It's easy to get a lot of them because they're common. I played 2 of them and it felt good. No regrets there. Another fixin' I had that made me decide to splash was a Terramorphic Expanse. So yeah, as you can see, I had the right fixing to actually go more than 2 colors. So that's one of the reasons I did. I wouldn't have otherwise. Scrap Gorger, this guy's really good, I think. He's just basically a mana dork that grows later, and he can help take care of things in yards. You probably know him. He's one of the bigger cards in the set as far as being played in a lot of constructed and stuff. Great card to pick up. Now, green was a splash color, so this is kind of odd, but it's still fixing, and I was like, I kind of got it. It's just so good. Sinew Dancer. This card is also way better than it seems. Helps you get through with your final poison counters by tapping things down at the end of your opponent's turn. Never tap on your turn unless you're winning the game that turn. Always tap at the end of your opponent's turn or before their attack. I actually beat someone that had the new Elish Norn. I just kept tapping it down with the Sinew Dancer and got through for the win, which was nuts. This guy, I think I just wanted a big board stopper and a 6/5 reach trample that's got a little evasion on it. Seemed relevant. I just wanted one big guy in there. The other option was my double strike angel for the flying stuff. Just didn't have much flying stuff, really. So he actually did win me a few games. This guy, just him being on the board, if they can't remove it, they pretty much can't get through anymore. He is just a common. He's easy to pick up. Is he that playable? Not really, but I just felt like in the meta I was in and the games I was in, he seemed decent. He did all right. Predation. This card is busted, obviously. It's basically just a hard removal. Make sure your opponent's tapped out and can't respond when you play this, obviously. This gives your creature +1/+2 at sorcery speed and fight something. So you can pretty much always buff something to be able to kill something else, and it's pretty good. Stinging Hive Master. This card's very strong. A really great 3-drop. It's a 3/2 toxic, 3 mana. So, and it also, when it dies, you get a 1/1 might. So the toxic keeps going. It's one of those. And that was my deck. I filled it out in the rest of the lands, but those were mainly the cards I played. This deck felt pretty strong. It performed really well. It annoyed a lot of people. It has tons of removal. So once I get the colors online, which was not hard to do, and some poison going, people really struggled to do anything against this deck. It felt pretty good. So there's that one. Then there's one. This is the one I played at the RCQ. I did okay in the RCQ. I didn't get as good of cards, I would say, as I did at the game store. I didn't get in top 8. So it was an interesting RCQ. The top 8 did a draft. One of my buddies got in it, so he got the draft. But I didn't quite make top 8. I was somewhere in top 16, I think. But it was very hard. A lot of really competitive. RCQ is always really hard, so it's pretty tough to get up there. But you can. All right, so here was what I got. I got a Skrelv's Hive. This card kind of underperformed. I think you need a sack outlet or to be really aggressive with this card, but ultimately this card kind of underperformed. Maybe it was just the deck. I still think it's a great card, but it didn't seem to do it for me. Okay, I set my camera to manual, so hopefully we can get a better focus, at least on the cards I'm showing here. So sorry about that, but it is what it is. I'm working on it. I'm trying to remember to do that for our next video. So I don't know what else to say about it. Cool card. Just didn't seem to quite ever get it done in any of these games I played. Kea, Intangible Slayer. Obviously a bomb and a really strong card. I had quite a few situations though where I had her in my hand and just couldn't play her, and I probably would have won the game if this was anything else, anything playable. At least my first matchup. So while she's good, 7 mana is a lot of life, or a lot of mana, and she doesn't necessarily do a ton right off the bat. Basically, you usually exile something, so it's like a 7 mana removal spell, and I don't know. I didn't ever really get to play her. Was her mana cost? Herbrass Forge. This is a cool card too. I was obviously going for a bit of an overwhelm creature factory here because I got these two. I was like, all right, let's do this. So just creatures every turn coming at you kind of thing. And it was interesting. I definitely got a few people with the Forge. It's just kept growing. So this deck is a little weird because, well, I just had to make some odd choices basically. As you can see, there's once again black and white with a red splash. Um, Not really what I intended, but I really wanted to get this Forge in the deck because it just seems like such a strong limited card, and it kind of was. You just got to survive while it builds up, basically. All right, so I did get a Kemba. Kemba's very, very strong. It definitely did some work. Definitely won me a game or two. The equipped creatures getting buffed is pretty relevant. Making cats is pretty relevant. Cats ETB get a free equip, kind of relevant. Happened a lot. All right, this is a sleeper too. If you get this card, you got to play it. This card is amazing. Atraxas Skitterfang. So it's just a 2/2 for 3 mana, which doesn't sound that great. Comes in with 3 oil counters. At the beginning of combat on your turn, so you play it main 1, you can do it right away. Beginning of combat, you can remove oil counter, give something flying, vigilance, death touch, or lifelink. So this was often a great way for me to get through. Just give something flying, give something death touch, give something lifelink if it was huge and I needed life. This was a very versatile card that really, really helped me close out a lot of games. I think this is kind of a sleeper. Chittering Skittering. This is hard to say. I think I played this. You'll see why later. Normally I wouldn't play this. It's okay. It's a 1/4 for 3, but it also says you can corrupted, sack a card or sack an artifact or creature, draw a card, activate only once, and only if opponent has poison counters. There were definitely a few games where that helped out. Mainly he's in here because I have creature tokens being created here, and poison obviously ticking up here a little bit. So I wanted a way to sack them for value, and this guy was it. Hex Gold Halberd. I basically needed more equipment. That's why I played this. This is okay. It just gets you a 2/2 body. This equipment's kind of weak. It's a first strike trample only. But with Kemba, you do get a little +1/+1, and you can avoid the equip cost. So it seemed okay in this deck. And once again, another red card. Crawling Course. Crawling Course is kind of broken. It's like the best 1-drop you can get, especially if you need Corrupted. Because even if they kill it, you basically get another Crawling Course. You get another Might right away. So it's like 2 little toxic 1/1s for 1 mana. It's busted. This is a busted card, honestly, for a 1-drop, at least in limited. I mean, it's not gonna close out games on its own. It's just a small body. If they get a blocker, they can outclass it. But if you're going wide with toxic, this is amazing. It's an amazing card. All right, Hex Gold Slash, another just amazing card. It's basically kill anything for 1 mana. It's the super shock, especially stuff with poison. Toxic things, it hits for 4. So it's great for taking out those 4 toughness green creatures, which there are a lot of in this format. Just the sack land. This Stinging Hive Master made another appearance. He's very strong. Vanish into Eternity. I debated on playing this main deck or not. It's a 6 mana instant removal, or a 3 mana if you're hitting a non-creature. So it's almost kind of like a disenchant or something, but it can hit creatures. Wasn't super relevant in most of my games. I ended up siding it out a lot of times. It's okay though. Whispers of the Dross. I feel like you got to play that. If I played another Grimnark, Volt Charge, Terramorphic Expanse, draw a Skullbomb. Skullbomb is quite good. Getting your creature back, drawing a card, or you sack draw a card. It's one of the Skullbombs. So bombs are okay. Another Crawling Course, a Nim Razor Paladin, toxic 2/4/4 guy. ETBs, you get to return something from your hand. Now, this guy always felt awkward. I was always trying to play him in a way where I actually got to return something from my graveyard value, but there were so many games where I got to 5 mana, he was my play, but I had nothing to return. And there were a few times where I thought, okay, I'm going to wait out one more turn, sandbag another turn, see if I can get a trade, and then get the creature back to try to pull an advantage. And a couple times that backfired. So a couple of my losses, I think, were due to trying to get this value and kind of delaying too long. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say how the game would have gone, but I think you, it's kind of a trap. Like, you want to play this guy as early as you can because he's a 4/4 toxic too that they got to deal with. But also, you want to wait till you get something in the yard that you can bring back. And it's kind of a trap. I think you should just play him if he's your 5 drop. If you don't have another option and you have 5 mana, I think you should just play this and not worry about getting the thing back. Because maybe you'll get it later because you can draw a Skullbone this guy back and then you can play this guy and get something else back. So I think obviously, you guys didn't see the games or anything, but I think in retrospect, I would have played this guy on curve as often as possible if I were to do it again, because I tried not to. Vraska's Fall, very amazing. Really good card. It pretty much always performed. Between my other removal here, which you saw a lot of, I could usually pick off whatever little things and leave them with one thing on the board. And it was pretty easy to hit them with Vraska's Fall. It overperformed in this deck. This Devotion is amazing in a toxic deck. It's basically draw a card plus save your creature, win a trade. It's like a 3-for-1. It's kind of insane. This card is better than it seems if you've got toxic. If you don't have toxic, it's not very good. But if you do, that draw a card cantrip on it is amazing and limited. And yeah, we'll go back to that. Another equipment, I kind of wanted to get some more equipment in here for Kemba. It's basically one of the reasons I had to go red a little bit too. Also, I had Volt Charge and Hexgold Slash and Urbrass Forge, but then I had a few of these equipment too. So yeah, I don't know. I keep doing these 3-color decks. I wouldn't advise it personally, but I kept feeling like I was getting in these situations where it kind of had to have a decent enough deck, but I don't know. This is a really good one. Get you a 4/2 for 4 mana, which is, you can trade pretty well. But then you can put it on something else later to make it huge. And if you've got Kemba, that's going to be a huge flyer. A very strong card. I definitely recommend picking these up and playing them as much as you can. The Volshock Splitter is strong. Dross Pits, I feel like you got to play these. They're super good. Incisor Glider. This thing's pretty good. It's a little awkward to play. I don't think you just jam it all the time. I mean, sometimes you do, but it's a 1/3 flyer for 2. And if opponent has 3 or more poison counters, all your creatures get buffed. So generally, okay, you need to attack with it. So you don't ever play it main 1 because you can't attack with it anyway. So generally, you'd swing out, and once you finally get the 3 poison counters, at least, you play this on main 2, and that way they have a little less time to deal with it as little as possible, and next turn you can swing, usually for the win with this big buff. So this guy's good. You just got to be careful about playing how you play him. Just never play him main 1. I always see people play creatures like this on their first main, and it's like, what are you doing? You're just revealing info you don't need to reveal. So just throwing that out there. Sanu Dancer, very strong card. I love playing this when you can get poison counters going on people. It just feels really good. Planner Disruption, another card that feels really good. Pretty much solid removal and limited here for 2 mana. Another Dune Mover. I love this guy. He was another overperformer. Just very frequently getting a mountain or a swamp or even a plains, just fixing my last 3rd color. He was, when I get this guy and a Terramorphic Expanse and maybe one other fixing, I feel okay going to 3 colors. All right, Rebel Salvo. This thing is broken. 3 mana, 5 damage. And it loses indestructible, so it kills indestructible stuff. And affinity for equipment, so it can get even cheaper. This card is insane. You've got to, if you see this, it's an instant grab. Is it better than Volt Charge? Maybe. Is it better than the Hexgold Slash? Probably not, but it's really, really, really good. So I had a lot of really good red cards, as you can see here. Jawbone Duelist, this thing's really, really strong too. Toxic 1, Double Strike for 2 mana. Getting this thing equipped up with Double Strike was amazing. It's a fun card. Really did well to perform. Duelist of Deep Faith, strong. So that was basically my RCQ deck there. My one big regret is I just wouldn't have played this main deck. This should have been a side card. I should have played another cheap creature. I probably would have. I think I would have gotten top 8, honestly, if I just didn't play this. Just the 7 CMC and the amount of times this was dead in my hand for the first half of the game. And by the time I finally did get to play it, it was just too late. There was definitely a couple matches where I was like, oh, I'm holding this K. If it was anything else, I could probably close it out. So just want to reiterate that this K is not quite as good as she seems, just too expensive. If this was like 5 CMC and maybe 1 or 2 less loyalty or something, I think it'd be very playable. But at 7, it's a bit much. All right, well, that was my experience. It was really fun. I had a really good time playing these games. I think this set is a really fun set. Looking forward to the next. This was my last chance to record this because I'm moving on from here, so I figured I'd do a quick one and get it out there. Well, that's all I can think of for now. I know I haven't done any openings of this set or much in general, but like I said, basically just been busy. Do still plan on making a lot of content around Magic, so stay tuned. Next up for me, tomorrow I'm playing in a Legacy tournament, so I'll give a report of that shortly. Not sure when. We'll see how I do. I'm gonna try to take home the crown. I got most of my decks sorted out. I just need to finalize a few things, but that's tomorrow, and I'll be busy with that all day tomorrow. For me, at the time of this recording, anyway, it'll be March 4th is the tournament. BCDL 11, so that will be fun. What else to say? I don't know. This set's really cool. The new Atraxa broken. It's being played a lot in Legacy and Modern and a lot of stuff. And I think that's the big card that's changing formats more than anything else. I'm trying to think what else to talk about here. Yeah, I guess that's probably it for now. If you want to see my other game, I don't do a whole lot of gameplay here. I might eventually do a few like Commander games or Legacy playtesting or something. Not sure, but this is more of the collecting report slash channel and kind of teaching channel. Kind of, it's a owning the cards, owning with the cards. I don't know. There's a little motif there. I know it's corny, but that's what went through my head when I made the channel. So. If you want to see my like arena gameplay and stuff, that's at General Bad Player YouTube channel. So look that up. I do post over there occasionally when I record games, and it's basically all online games. It's mainly my arena channel. Eventually MTGO once I get a couple decks there. All right. Well, until next time, I appreciate you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps me a ton, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.